The average American household earns $87,000 a year and spends $84,000 of it. That's a savings rate of barely 3%. Meanwhile, the top 1% of wealth builders save 38% of their income. The difference isn't salary. It isn't luck. It's the 5 spending categories they quietly stopped funding years ago, categories that are draining over $1,000 a month from households just like yours right now. Today, we're going to expose exactly what those 5 categories are. These aren't obvious. In fact, you've been told some of them are investments, necessities, or reasonable rewards for working hard. They're not. They are the primary wealth transfer mechanisms that move money from your future into someone else's present. By the end of this video, you'll have a precise, actionable framework to stop the bleeding and redirect that money toward assets that actually build wealth. Let's get into it. This is the single largest destroyer of middle-class wealth in America, and almost nobody talks about it in honest terms. According to Experian's Q1 2025 State of the Auto Finance Market Report, the average monthly payment on a new vehicle in the United States is now $737 per month. That is $8,844 per year in payments alone. Factor in insurance, which averages $2,150 annually according to Bankrate's 2025 rate analysis. Add maintenance, fuel, registration, and taxes, and the American Automobile Association puts the true annual cost of owning and operating a new vehicle at over $12,000 per year. But that's the visible cost. The invisible cost is where the real damage happens. A new car loses an average of 23.5% of its value in the first 12 months of ownership. That figure comes from ICCAR's 2024 analysis of over 1.8 million vehicle transactions. By year 5, the average vehicle has lost 60% of its purchase price. You are not buying transportation. You are buying a controlled financial demolition on a monthly payment plan. Thomas Stanley spent decades studying actual millionaires for his landmark book, The Millionaire Next Door. He surveyed over 1,000 American millionaires and found that the single most common vehicle they owned was not a BMW, not a Mercedes, not a Tesla. It was a Ford F-150 used. The median price paid by millionaires for their most recent vehicle was under $35,000. $1 had never in their lives paid more than $30,000 for a car. Warren Buffett drove a 2006 Cadillac DTS for nearly a decade before anyone convinced him the car was an embarrassment for the world's most successful investor. His rationale was simple and devastating. A car's job is to drive, nothing else. It does not signal competence. It does not generate income. It does not appreciate. It drives. Here is the math you need to hear. If you replace a $737 monthly new car payment with a reliable used vehicle financed or purchased at half the cost, saving a conservative $400 per month, and invest that difference in an S&P 500 index fund, returning the historical average of 10% annually, you accumulate $82,000 in 10 years. Save $500 per month, and that number becomes $103,000. Over 20 years at $500 monthly, $381,000 from one decision about a car. The wealthiest people on Earth treat vehicles as tools with a defined function. The financially struggling majority treats them as identity markers requiring constant upgrading. This distinction is not subtle. It is the explanation for most of the wealth gap in this country. Action step. If your car payment exceeds $400 per month and your net worth is below $250,000, you cannot afford that car by any rational financial measure. That is not a judgment. That is arithmetic. This one is engineered to be invisible, and the industry knows it. A 2022 C+R research survey found that Americans spend an average of $219 per month on subscription services. More striking, 42% of respondents had at least one active subscription they had completely forgotten about, still billing, still draining, unnoticed. At $219 per month, that is $2,628 per year, leaving your account in automatic charges that require zero decision-making on your part. That is precisely the point. Count what the average household actually holds. Netflix at $22.99. Hulu at $17.99. Disney Plus at $13.99. Max at $15.99. Spotify at $10.99. Amazon Prime at $14.99 per month. Apple iCloud storage, a gym membership averaging $49 per month, of which 67% goes largely unused according to a 2023 Statista survey. a meal kit service. A couple of news outlets, LinkedIn Premium, random app subscriptions that build once and never stopped. The total is real. For millions of households, it exceeds $300 per month, but subscriptions are only the surface layer of this problem. Beneath them is what behavioral economists at Princeton have identified as the small purchase blind spot. A $6 coffee 3 times a week, a $14 impulse order on Amazon, a $9.99 in-app purchase. These feel like noise. Individually, they are. Cumulatively, they are destroying your trajectory. Princeton research found that irregular small purchases are consistently the most underestimated spending category when people self-report, underestimated by an average of 40%. The brain's loss aversion mechanism, which makes large purchases feel painful, barely registers on transactions under $15. Subscription billing exploits this ruthlessly. When the friction of paying is removed, when it just happens automatically, rational financial thinking never engages. J.L. Collins, author of The Simple Path to Wealth and one of the clearest financial voices of the last decade, calls this death by 1,000 subscriptions. His argument, backed by compounding math, is simple. Every dollar that leaves your account automatically is a dollar that never got evaluated. And dollars that never get evaluated never get invested. The audit process takes 1 hour. Pull your last 90 days of bank and credit card statements. Highlight every recurring charge, every single one. For each item, ask 3 questions. First, did I actively use this in the last 30 days? Second, would I manually resubscribe to this today if I had to log in and enter my card details right now? Third, what is my actual cost per use? A $50 gym membership used twice in 30 days costs $25 per visit. A yoga studio would be cheaper. People who run this audit typically cancel between 4 and 7 subscriptions immediately, recovering between $60 and $150 per month in the first sitting. That is not aggressive frugality. That is basic financial hygiene. Action step: cancel every subscription you have not actively used in the past 30 days. Wait 2 weeks. If you genuinely miss it, resubscribe. Most people resubscribe to nothing. Americans spent $67 billion on food delivery apps in 2023. That figure is projected to reach $96 billion by 2027, according to Statista market research. This is not a trend. This is the largest voluntary, ongoing wealth transfer from working households to Silicon Valley investors in modern history. And most people participate without running the numbers. Here is what DoorDash and Uber Eats do not put in their marketing materials. A 2023 analysis by Gordon Haskett Research Advisors found that the average markup on a restaurant meal ordered through a delivery platform, inclusive of service fees, delivery fees, and the quiet portion reductions restaurants implement to protect their own margins, runs between 30% and 44% above the in-restaurant price. Add a standard tip, and a $14 meal becomes a $26 to $28 transaction. You're paying a 90% premium for the convenience of not walking to your car. If a household orders delivery 3 times per week, a below-average frequency among app users, they spend approximately $312 per month on food that costs $185 at the restaurant and $90 prepared at home. The delta between delivery and home cooking for those 3 meals, over $220 per month. Over a year, $2,640. Over 10 years, invested, roughly $50,000. The broader picture is even sharper. According to the 2023 Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey, the average American household spends $3,639 per year dining out. Households that deliberately shift 50% of restaurant spending to home-prepared meals, not 100%, not a deprivation diet, simply half, save between $150 and $220 per month without meaningful quality of life reduction. Ramit Sethi, author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and one of the most cited voices in practical personal finance, frames this precisely. The issue is not the money spent on food. The issue is the difference between conscious and unconscious spending. A planned dinner out, budgeted for, looked forward to, fully enjoyed, delivers full value. A tired Tuesday DoorDash order because opening the refrigerator felt like work is pure financial leakage dressed in the language of self-care. The behavioral fix is not willpower. It is friction engineering. Meal preparation once per week, approximately 2 hours on a Sunday, recovers $150 to $200 per month in delivery savings. 2 hours recovering $175. That is $87.50 per hour after tax. Most people do not earn that at their jobs. The math of cooking is better than the math of most employment. Action step: delete one delivery app from your phone this week. 1. The friction created by having to reinstall it before ordering breaks the habit loop for the majority of users. Start with the one you use most impulsively. Fast fashion is a $110 billion global industry built on one engineered belief: that last season's clothes are insufficient, not worn out, not broken, insufficient. Americans buy an average of 65 pounds of clothing per year and discard approximately 70 pounds, discarding more than they purchase because they are finally throwing out previous impulse buys that have been sitting unworn. According to the American Textile Recycling Service, the average U.S. household spends $1,700 per year on clothing. The majority of fast fashion items cost under $40 and are worn fewer than 5 times before being discarded or donated. The cost per wear is catastrophic, but there is a fifth spending category we have not yet named, one that operates below the financial awareness of most households, targeting specifically those with lower savings rates and delivering a mathematically guaranteed loss every single time. Americans spend over $100 billion per year on lottery tickets and scratch cards. That figure comes directly from the North American Association of State and Provincial Lotteries. To put that in context, Americans spend more on lottery tickets annually than on movies, music, video games, sporting events, and books combined. In high-participation states, the average lottery player spends $540 per year. The legally mandated return on that dollar spent is 53 cents. You are statistically guaranteed to lose money, not probably. Guaranteed at any meaningful sample size. This is not a fringe behavior. This is a mainstream financial habit concentrated among households with the least financial buffer and the most to lose. Now here is the case study that puts everything together. Pete Adeny, known publicly as Mr. Money Mustache, was a software engineer in Colorado earning approximately $67,000 per year. His wife earned a comparable amount. Their combined household income was roughly $130,000, not extreme wealth, not a technology windfall, a normal dual-income professional household. In 9 years of working, they retired permanently at age 30. Their portfolio at retirement was $600,000, generating sufficient passive income through index fund dividends and growth to cover all living expenses indefinitely. How? They tracked every dollar with mechanical precision. They drove used vehicles, one of which Pete purchased for $1,500 cash and operated for 4 years. They cooked at home. They owned no cable subscription. They bought used clothing. They treated every unnecessary expense not as a consumer decision, but as hours of their finite life sold to an employer to fund it. Pete developed a framework he calls the anti-consumerist math. Every $100 in monthly recurring expenses requires approximately $30,000 in invested capital to fund indefinitely at a 4% safe withdrawal rate, the research-validated benchmark from the Trinity study. So every $100 monthly habit eliminated is the financial equivalent of depositing $30,000 into a retirement account. Apply that math to what we have covered today. Eliminate a $500 car payment overage. Cancel $120 in unused subscriptions. Cut $150 in delivery spending. Reduce clothing and lottery spending by $130. That is $900 per month recovered, $10,800 per year. At the 4% withdrawal rule, those recurring expenses required $270,000 in invested capital to sustain. By eliminating them, you have effectively given yourself a $270,000 financial raise without earning a single dollar more. Pete did this. Thousands of households in the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, have replicated it at various income levels. The math does not care about your income bracket. It cares about the gap between what comes in and what leaves unnecessarily. The uncomfortable truth is this: the gap between where you are and financial independence is not a gap in income for most Americans. It is a gap in spending decisions, specifically, decisions made on autopilot, under the influence of marketing, convenience, and social comparison. If this changed how you're looking at your accounts right now, if you're calculating the numbers in your head and feeling the urgency of them, then the channel is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. Subscribe to Wealth Logic. New videos every week on building real, Durable wealth without gimmicks, without false promises, and without waiting for circumstances to change. Hit the notification bell so you catch every release. The people who build wealth quietly do it through consistent, unsexy decisions compounded over decades. This channel exists to make those decisions less mysterious and more accessible. Subscribe and stay in the conversation. Here is the mindset shift that separates wealth builders from everyone else, and it is simpler than most financial content will ever admit. Every dollar you do not spend on things that depreciate, vanish, or erode is a dollar that works for you in perpetuity. Money invested does not sleep. It does not take weekends. It does not require supervision. But money spent on convenience, status, and unconscious habit is gone permanently. The transaction you make every time you tap your card is not simply money exchanged for a product. It is future freedom traded for present comfort, every single time. Warren Buffett said it as plainly as it can be said, "Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving." The 5 categories we covered today, depreciating vehicles, subscription leakage, convenience food spending, fast fashion, and low-return financial habits, are not random. They are the exact categories the financial services industry, the consumer goods industry, and the technology industry profit from most when you spend. And they are the categories you profit from most when you stop. 1 change this week, not 5. 1. Cancel 1 subscription, delete 1 app. Decide 1 thing you are no longer buying without a specific, considered reason. Wealth is not a destination, it is a direction. Small, consistent corrections in direction compound into enormous distance over time. Make sure yours is pointed the right way. SEOTAGS. Stop buying these things. Save Money 2026. Personal Finance 2026. Financial freedom, wealth building, passive income. How to save money fast. Financial independence. FIRE movement. Money habits. Investing for beginners. Frugal living tips. Financial mistakes to avoid. Personal finance tips. Stop wasting money description. Are you earning decent money but still living paycheck to paycheck? The problem isn't your income. It's 5 specific spending categories quietly draining $1,000 or more from your household every single month in 2026. In this video, Wealth Logic breaks down the exact 5 things you need to stop buying now. The new car trap that costs $12,000 per year in true ownership costs. The subscription creep draining an average of $219 monthly. The food delivery illusion charging you a 44% markup on every order, fast fashion's hidden cost per wear math. And the 1 financial habit that guarantees you lose money every single time. Backed by BLS consumer expenditure data, Experian Auto Finance reports, IC Cars depreciation research, and case studies from Thomas Stanley's The Millionaire Next Door, and Mr. Money Mustache's documented early retirement. This is the wealth-building math that changes how you see every purchase. Timestamps 0000. Hook. The savings rate gap 0045. Introduction 0131. The new car trap 05002. Subscription creep 09003. The convenience food illusion 13004 and 5. Fast fashion, hidden habits, and case study 2000. Action plan and outro. Subscribe for weekly personal finance, investing, and wealth-building content. Financial freedom starts with 1 decision. Make it today. Personal finance, wealth-building, financial freedom, save money, passive income.